Well, thank you for the ClueCon to be there. We just love ClueCon. It's the home of Homer, as we call it at QXIP. We really appreciate the opportunity to always be here and to present. A little bit about me. I'm a solutions architect at QXIP. That means I help customers hopefully solve their problems and lead them to success. I was deeply involved in the design of this QRYN framework. I got to develop, I got to be part of the design and work with the integrations. So we'll talk more about that. Originally, I got into telephony with WebRTC. I built, or was part of building the meeting platform, which was a browser-based video, audio meeting conference platform that we built for Mozilla at the time. I loved data analysis, so when I got deep diving into WebRTC, I really kind of found a passion, which hopefully many of you share, looking at RTP and SIP, and that's how I ended up at QXIP. So QXIP, I'm sure everyone knows, for Homer, we make a VoIP monitoring platform called Homer, which is open source. Many of you use it. And we also have commercial monitoring technologies. Our headquarters in Amsterdam with an operations office in Valencia. We have lots of deployments, tiny startups, big companies. We're all around. One of our biggest deals is to run a business model as partnerships. So we try to maintain healthy relationships with those who use our products and then find ways to have win-win situations, and we use Robinhood style open source modeling where the people who need it open source get it for free, and the people who are buying our commercial products are paying for the open source development. So we give back and we get back. So Homer, everyone knows, it's the big connector to HEP. It's kind of the platform for monitoring, because almost every one of these beautiful SBC and capture agents support HEP. FreeSwitch was one of the first integrations, so it's close to our heart. And so that's Homer. Our mission at QXIP is to make simple and complex at once. So we always like to build things that are helpful for humans, made by humans for humans. And so our goal is to introduce QRYN, which will make your life easier, hopefully. And for the pronunciation, I'd rather be querying. There you go. So what is it? On a 10,000-foot level, it's a monitoring tool device for logs, metrics, and traces. Many of the Grafana people probably are aware of Loki. There's a different kind of infrastructure application and monitoring for all sorts of agents. They're available to go right into QRYN. So it's compatible. And it's running on top of ClickHouse, which is a database. We have ingestion APIs for Loki, Prometheus, Tempo, Influx, Elastic, and a couple more. It's natively compatible with Grafana. It supports LogQL, PromptQL, Tempo APIs, and it's extendable. So querying, processing, ingesting, tracing, and alerting all out of logs. The query pipelines, obviously for filtering and searching, is all made natively for the logs, for metrics, events, traces, and it integrates with many different formats like Zipkin, OpenTelemetry in general, Homer, Prometheus, and so forth. It comes in with a built-in data explorer and a LogQL CLI, which we'll probably see one picture of. So you can go directly and look at your data without having to spin up a Grafana, for example. And it's designed to be serverless and stateless on top of a ClickHouse. So what does it do? Well, it supports all these different types of inputs. So you got HEP, VoIP, RTC agents. Then you've got standard protocols like OpenTelemetry. You got JSON logs. You got Docker and Kubernetes logs. You got industry agents like Promptail, Grafana agent, Logstash, Vector, you name it, and it'll likely have a connector to it. We have API endpoints, and we kind of split it between the log agent, metric agent, and tracing agents, but they're just paths in the same core, and it will accept JSON and protobuf to write to the QRYN core, which essentially transpiles your queries into ClickHouse queries and that are optimized and fast for insert and good for readout. You can bring your own ClickHouse, or you can use a cloud ClickHouse. It doesn't really matter. It can run on top of any type of ClickHouse clustering, ClickHouse deployment. So readout is the same way. The QRYN core will transpile your queries and get back the information that you're looking for. So how did it all start? Well, as a solution architect, I get to help customers succeed. And so I get to talk to them a lot. And a lot of people go down the big 9 rings of hell of trying to find where is the log that I really need to find what the issue is. Well, my usual conversation is, well, we got the call in Homer. Well, we'll open the SBC panel to check the logs. Well, which terminal was it again? Which server was it that we need to look at? Let's go to that one. Oh, was it messages or syslog that we wanted to look at? And then you've got this huge, long log that you want to look at. And the question is, how can we find the information we're looking for? So let's grab it down to 50 pages so we can just scroll and look. So our goal is to get rid of that and have it just all in one window. Use queries that are helpful to you over all of your logs to find what you're really interested in. So let's QRYN. Let's start with logs. So we support out-of-the-box log-FMT parsing, JSON parsing, and essentially a regex or even name group extractions from your logs. So that means no indexing when you go in. We have a label filter paradigm, which means that each log that comes in, you give it a label for you to easily find. And so you can filter your data at the beginning of the query, and then inside it, you use regex or log-FMT or JSON formats to get the data that you're looking for. So an example, free switch logs. You can see it's just job free switch because that's the agent that labeled it as job free switch, and inside is all the free switch logs. You can give it additional labels that will helpful. For example, which server it was that sent this log, if you have multiple free switches. And then you can use filters to just find a specific log that you're looking for. Info, error, warning, signal wire, invites, whatever you're looking for. Another example is SIP search. Here's a HEPIC server that sent in SIP into a QRYN. You can search for our port, you can search for invite, you can search for a specific root user, and it will find it for you. Then Janus, which hopefully many of you know as well. We have media reporting, so we can get those out and filter it. We have syslog, plus here's an example of filtering for severity critical issues, so you can go look for those. Then jump from metrics from logs. So this is where I like this feature a lot because it allows you to make metrics right there on the fly. You can unwrap either values that are inside the log, or you can even just count specific logs. In this case, we have a Janus RTT round trip time reporting, and with this one query right here, we have a graph of the last 10-second buckets over the last period of time to show you what the RTT was over just logs. HEPIC can tell you how many invites you had and from which host, and which node, and what the responses were, just on the fly. So we got also the metrics directly. If you go Prometheus or Influx or Elastic Way, you obviously see heat maps from the round trip time, like we saw earlier from Janus. We got built-in Prometheus PromQL statistics, and another view of what these PromQL and LogQL metrics can look like. In this case, it's HEP statistics. And then traces, which is another very useful feature when you're looking at different times. So we support OTLP and SIPK and Jaeger tracing formats, which is very helpful when you're trying to trace applications. It gives you the timing of when things happen in your application, and it lets you kind of see the durations of each of the steps and find what are the anomalies. One good example is tracing Janus. We have the events from Janus, and we can turn them into traces so you can see how the time flows for each of the calls. In this case, you can see there is an ICE failed event, and so it was easy for us to just find it by this event type. Sorry. We can also trace our databases on the back end and see that how the queries are going and how the durations of the queries are going. And one of the other advantages of traces is that you can have a service map built for you. So you can see all the services in relation to each other and how the requests go from one service to another with statistics directly available as you click on each of the services. So that's a very powerful way to see how your system is going. So QRYN then takes the metrics, the tracing, the logging, and it puts it all in one, and it allows you to read it out in the most possible way for you to find what is really interesting to you, and hopefully also creates the views and the statistics that are helpful to you to see how your systems related to VoIP and not related to VoIPs are performing and how they're working out. So a few more examples. So we got QXIP and MeetEcho, which MeetEcho is the maker of Janus. We've been working together with them forever with events and how their media is reported. And we're working closely with them to have what we call the Janus WebSocket Shark, or in other words, JAWS. And it's essentially an integration with Janus that allows us to hook into their events immediately and give a good range of media reporting, a good range of tracing, and a good range of logging to allow people who are running Janus to really see what's going on inside their systems. So again, we have these tracing events. We can examine, for example, the media details of each of the media reports. We can pinpoint items that are interesting to us. The RTT was 417 milliseconds in this media report, so that's kind of a red flag. Got to watch if that stays away or if it's just a spike. We can detect these failures, like I mentioned before, the ICE failure. It helps us find out which session was affected by it and hopefully help us find the problem. Again, this event searching and filtering is not just for RTT, but it's for any of the media reports that we can go quickly, see what are the sessions that are running right now on Janus, what is their state, what's their values, right? And we can get the on-the-fly statistics from them, like we saw here. The other great thing is that you can count events, so you know exactly how much of the people that are going through your session flows see the events and count them, and then you know what the situation is on your Janus, if it's being overpowered or if it's going well and clean. That's all things that are enabled through QRYN. The other great thing is that from these statistics that we make on the fly, we can immediately generate alerts. So if you are counting errors, or if you're counting responses, like in this example, 40x responses, you can set an alert to say, well, if I'm getting more than 4 or 5 responses on my system, I want to be alerted and get an email directly and let us know. And so that's one great thing that QRYN can do for us immediately on the fly without having to set up anything special. It's all documented, CI tested, and ready to use. head over to QRYN.dev, and you'll find all the instructions. Tomorrow we'll have a lunch and learn, where we'll be able to look at that, how to install it, how to use it, and we'll do a quick demo of what it looks like in action. So that's what we used our last year on, and that's we've been working on it for much longer, and we've been using it with customers already as well. You know, it has a HEP API, so it's 100% backwards compatible. We've got the logql API for ingestion and querying, so you don't have to learn a new language if you already use Loki or Grafana. We support the Prometheus ingestion, so you have metrics out of the box, and you have querying into these metrics with the histograms and sorry, it eluded my word. Histograms, diagrams, statistics, and so for all that comes out of Prometheus. And then we've got the Tempo API, which is for ingestion and querying of telemetries, Zipkin, OTLP traces that can come out of any of your systems to see how they're doing. So, quick FAQ. Does QRYN kill Homer? No. It will be part of the next Homer and will power a lot of the functionality of Homer as the new backend to simplify and unify what Homer is today. Does it work with HEP? Yes, all HEP 3 clients are okay right at this point in time. Is it OSS? Yes, it is, and we also have a commercial offering for integrators. Is it out? Yes, it is. You can go to QRYN.dev to go get it. Does it Docker? Yes, it Dockers. We have new compose files ready to go. Does it work with any type of log? Yes, any log, any format, especially string-based ones. There's many ways for you to turn that on and send it over. Can I integrate in my project? Yes, core, edge, both, wherever you need it, you can integrate it. Does it take CI? Yep, and it includes GitHub Actions. And we even have a GitHub Action agent so that you can monitor your GitHub Actions on the fly. Is there a cloud version? Yes, there's a cloud version, and it's launching soon. We've been working and partnering with QXIP, which is a ClickHouse cluster host, and they are working to make available QRYN instantly in their clusters. So as you are using them, you will be able to use QRYN in the clusters that you get from them. It will be available inside your cluster details to send logs to, and also it's helpful to trace and monitor the ClickHouse unit itself that is running on, and it will be available in their marketplace coming soon. So, are you ready to make the leap? Here's some detail of where to go. If you're interested and want to help, you can try it out. You can help. You can participate. We always have a need for users, contributors, testers, and contesters, and we want to see what you can come up with it and how you want to use it. So here you go. That's the information. And as usual, a shout out to open source. Support open source before you ask open source to support you. Let's give respect and get respect. And that's our motto at QXIP. So, open for questions. Is there questions? Front row over there.
I've forgotten my question now, but how do you characterize it against Splunk or Kibana?
I would say in my opinion, it's probably just a simpler setup. It wasn't meant to reinvent the space. It was meant to simplify it. So for not to these other parties, but there's some setups that require 6 or 7 components to do what QRYN does in one component on one Docker setup. So I think the easiest comparison is it will probably do the same, including we have a macro that translates some of the Splunk queries that you might have into LogQL, so it will make it easy to transfer over. But our goal was to keep it simple and allow you to just do one setup and hopefully forget about it.
Thanks.
Does that answer? Okay. Any other questions? Again, tomorrow we have a lunch and learn in the Signal Wire Lounge. There you go. Also the Alpine 1 room is what I heard. We'll take it casual and we'll look at the installation, what's the process, and we'll just have an open discussion, and then we'll run a demo and show you kind of some of the powerful things that you can do with just some logs that you have. If there's no other questions, I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.